Hello everyone, welcome to part 7 of the video series on the history of the Blue Carabao Eatery, known now as the Blue Cab. So to continue on in our little story, our adventure, about 10 years ago we got the lease on a property on 146 Monteverde Street on the corner Monteverde Alvarez. We had to actually prove to the building management that we could be successful and we would be responsible tenants, because this location had 10 restaurants in it and they all failed in 1 year. We've been in here 10 years. So after the go-ahead, they were gracious enough, because they knew the shape of this place was in, to give us 2 months free rent to come in here and clean it up. That would have been nice to walk into a clean building, but you know, I take it. I was grateful for that, so I came in and did the work, and it was a lot of work. I got to tell you, it was a lot of work. So after getting the ground floor all cleaned up, we learned from our experience in Obrero, our first location, that the kitchen is key. So what we did was spend the majority of our funds in that kitchen to make it efficient, functional. It's not a big space, but what is there, we were able to turn out a lot of food. It's set up quite well. It's nice and clean. I wanted it to such a level that I could invite anybody to walk in there at any time. And we've done that. And we've had people come from different parts of the country asking if they could see our kitchen, because we advertise that. We tell people, well, you're more than welcome to see our kitchen. Now, I will say to you one thing about restaurants in this country, that there's nothing wrong with asking to see a kitchen, right? And I think if a restaurant overhaul, if they have any pride in their food, they won't have any problem letting you take a quick glance. Some of them might be a little touchy, and it may have to do with issues with food safety, but in this country, I would highly recommend that you ask to see a kitchen, because don't let the dining room fool you, because some of these kitchens are deplorable. I've got to tell you. You know, they spend all their money on the dining room, and the kitchen is just bare bones. You know, there's no standard. Food safety is just right out the window. So, yeah, like there's you know, treat yourself good, and make sure that if you're going out dining, make sure that, you know, that there are good food safety procedures that are put into place. Make sure the staff are happy. You know, be a conscientious consumer. Ask. Don't be afraid to ask. You know, are they looking after you good here? Are they paying you good? Are they? And because that's who you want to support. You want to support businesses that treat their employees good. And so now we're set up in here. We've got our kitchen all designed. We got the dining room all laid out. We took a lot of the tables. They're just basically picnic tables. But they're made from a wood here in the Philippines called gemelina, which is the termites will not affect it. Big problem with termites and many other bugs in this country. Ants, I've never seen so many different kinds of ants in all my life. You know, it's like bananas. You know, where I come from, we see one kind of banana in Canada. You know, that's it. But here, good grief, you have green, yellow, red, monster ones, like huge, great, big things. So the bugs are the same way. So you really have to be aware of that. And also your other good friend that has wings and flies around here, the cockroaches, are also have a large presence in this country. So, but even though we're open style, listen, it's going to happen. These things fly. They're going to fly in. But they don't stay in, right? We have things put in place here that it just doesn't happen. Anything that flies or crawls does not live in this restaurant. And you want to make sure that wherever you go, right, that your food that you're eating is not being stepped on or urinated on or anything else by critters. So cleanliness is very important, and so I really pushed that. And in my kitchen, I had signs all over the place instructing people on how to be clean. That's the one thing about our staff, is that they're highly trained. We have meetings every Saturday. They're educated on procedures. Remind, remind, remind. As human beings, we need to be reminded of these things. So we do that. And it's a good chance to get some feedback from the employees in a little bit of a relaxed environment. And so everything's going along. We've got a dining room all set. We're having customers coming in. But then we have to change. We're going to go into what they have here in the Philippines, the VAT system, VAT, which is 12% on top of whatever you're purchasing. And so as a restaurant, we have to charge that. So we had to come up with pricing on that. It's trying to keep our pricing in line, affordable. What's it we've always. You can increase your cost of your meals. Just don't touch the serving size or the plate size. The customers overall will understand if there's a price increase, because they're out there, they're buying, they see the inflation, right? So as long as you stay within those boundaries, you can put your pricing up. They fully understand it. And even for us, our equipment, just to be able to cook rice, that piece of equipment's about 70,000, between 70 and 100,000 pesos just for that steamer. So you're looking at about anywhere between 1,500 and 2,500 Canadian for a rice steamer. So that's not something you want to be replacing every year. But if you don't train your staff, that piece of equipment can be gone in 1 month, especially if they forgot to turn the water on. Because see what happens if you have a fire and there's like a heat exchanger inside that. And so if that's the cooling for the pipes that take the heat in from the fire, and which causes steam. So you have to have that flow of water coming in there. Well, if that's shut off, guess what? That 75 to 100,000 peso piece of equipment gets ruined in 5 minutes. And we've had it happen. And it costs a lot of money to get it repaired. So that's where training really comes in, and you have to double check. You have to be hands-on. As an owner, manager, you have to be hands-on and always watching, double checking. And it just the only one thing that worked for us is we pay a good wage, we do all the benefits and everything, but we want people to take responsibility for their actions. Tell me, if you break a piece of equipment like a steamer, if you forget to turn the water on, then now this thing I can smell it. Oh, I didn't do it, sir. I didn't know what happened. I hate that. I just hate that garbage. Take responsibility for it so that I can replace it right away and we can keep on going. Pieces of equipment that are vital to the operation of a restaurant every day, if you break something, that can take out the whole day. Right? So your one action affects everybody. So as long as they tell us, most times I understand accidents do happen, but it's when you don't tell me. Then I have that, what I bring in is deductions. I deduct it from your wage because you didn't tell me. Now you have a choice. If you don't like it, you can find another job. But other than that, you take responsibility for it. So with that in mind, as soon as they get that in their head, now they're that much more careful. So it has, and it does work. It's the only thing I found that works here. So overall, our staff that we have, like I said, is very, very good. I can go out of here now and leave them and know that they're not going to be fooling around. They're going to be doing their job. So that's nice. But that's 15 years of operation, and we've had a lot of people since then. So right now we have a very good crew. Our turnover is next to zero in employees. So they're looked after well. They're paid 100 peso above minimum wage, plus they get all their benefits. And the one thing that we did here is give them their 13th month pay every 2 weeks. Because if you give it at the end of December, it's just going to go out on stupid stuff, right? Basically. But if you give it at the end of every month, that's at the end of each month, we give that, then it's going to go towards good things, clothing, their rent, stuff that they need. And so that was something that we brought in that's worked very well. And for a business to come up with that chunk of change at the end of the year, especially now, I couldn't imagine coming up with that kind of money, even for 5 staff right now, underneath the conditions that we're currently under here. So, going along, so we had to change to the VAT system. So I was wanting to find a way that we could maximize our profit in this place. And so the one thing was to become a BMBE. And you can look that up on your, I forget what it all means, or something, medium business, whatever. So the deal was with that is that you don't pay any tax on your income. And it was to create jobs, right? That's what it was. It was brought in by the, not the current, the third president of the Philippines past that we have now, a lady, and it was smart. She brought in a lot of good things. She brought in the VAT, which I think is a good idea. I like the VAT. It's good for business. It saved the Philippines actually from a disastrous time. So she was very smart that way. And then to bring in this BMBE. Well, the problem is you really have to search everything out here. Like BMBE, okay, it sounds good. I don't pay any tax on my income. Okay, how do I apply for it? So you go through it. Well, at the time, they didn't give you all the requirements. They just give you a little bit. Now, I had to educate. The bookkeepers didn't know anything about this here. And this was a program that had been out 2 years before I found out about it. I had to educate the bookkeepers, and that's another topic that I'm going to get at bookkeepers. So we applied for it, but they didn't tell us that once we got approved through the city, we had to take that approval to the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the BIR, and get that was not mentioned. So here we are going along thinking that we're, don't have to pay any tax on our income, and then all of a sudden we get raided one day. This is after being in this location about 4 years. And so there you are. That's what happened. You get stuck with it, and you end up with a bill of maybe 2 million pesos. This was with penalties and everything else. So that was a very expensive lesson, and it just taught me that you got to go, in anything here, you have to go right to Manila and get the answer to everything. Don't trust the local. Don't do it. It's going to blow up in your face. Go right to the head in Manila, and you find it. You get your information there and get it signed. Don't take anybody's word for anything. You get it, whatever they're telling you, get it on paper and get it signed, right? At least you have something. So we had to, that was just too big for us to pay at the time. So just last year, there was a tax amnesty that came in. So you can negotiate. And so that's what we did. And we negotiated down to an amount, and we paid them that much. So BMBE is a great ideal. I highly suggest any business in the Philippines take a look into it. Also, there's another one here. Maybe I'll make a separate video on that one. It's very good for foreigners. But be very careful here. You're best off being your own bookkeeper. I'm going to tell you right now. I've had the worst experience with bookkeepers here, and they will tell you whatever you want to hear. But when you get raided by the BIR, they're gone. Oh, I didn't tell you that. You're left holding the bag. And we got left holding the bag a few times. So from that experience, we've learned to do our own books. Highly, highly advise it. Highly advise it. I know it's tough. You're trying to run a business, and now you got to do the books. But I'm going to tell you, it's a must. In order to save yourself a lot of heartache, and not to end up being wiped out financially, learn to do your own books. And yeah, so this is video number 7 in this series. I'm going to try and wrap this up probably in one more. There's some nasty stuff that'll be in the last video, dealing with this location down here, you know, and some good stuff. We'll have a balanced mix of everything. So that was it for video number 7. Please, folks, you know, listen to the governmental authorities out there. Wear your mask. Do the social spacing. Here in the Philippines, you have to wear a shield everywhere you go as of December 15th. Please, just abide by it. We're going to be we're going to be into this for at least another year. So get used to it and do it. And just have consideration for one another. Just go about thinking that you have the virus and you don't want to give it to somebody else. That's the mentality that you need to have. So that means you'll wear the mask, you'll wear the shield, you'll wash your hands, you'll social space, you'll do all that stuff. And hopefully by this time next year, we don't have to be doing those things. But let me just say that this new variant of this COVID-19 that's come out now, I just want to let everybody know that the only difference, according to the medical professionals on this, is that it's 50% more contagious. That's it. All right? That's the only difference. 50% more contagious. So the standards that the protocol that we've been doing for the last while, keep it up. Just keep it up and you'll be all right. Vitamin D, I'm not a doctor. I try not, but listen, do your own research on vitamin D. And my whole family's on it here. In fact, I got my staff on it. And listen, any edge you got, it's not expensive, but it's been medically proven to work. And yeah, so there you go. So just have consideration for one another, and we'll make it all through this together. And hopefully by this time next year, we can just write this experience that we're going through right now as a nasty time. All right, take care, folks.